I'm here.
Gary Pinkel is the former head coach of the Missouri Tigers. He has written a brand new book called The 100-Yard Journey, and he is going to be at Left Bank Books tonight at 7 o'clock for a book signing and a book reading. Good morning, Coach Pinkel.
How you doing?
We're doing good. How are you doing health-wise?
I'm doing good. My cancer is in remission right now. I go back every 6 months, and anyway, just battling like out there that are battling also. So God bless everybody out there that's fighting this thing.
Will you ever go back to coaching?
No. I'm my priorities are right. I mean, I was a head coach 25 years, so the average life expectancy for head coach at Power 5 is about 6.5. So I did it for 25 years and absolutely loved it and feel very fortunate. But when I back away from it, and I don't know, I just signed a 6-year contract when I retired. But I look back at the pace of life I led, and I said, "Oh my gosh, you're unbelievable!" So I feel good about what I did.
Do you miss it on a Saturday morning when you hear the band getting ready?
I miss it when I miss my players. I love being around my players, but I'm around them a lot too, so it's kind of neat to be like that now. But I also miss putting my headset on and having the referee, start, blow the whistle and start the game. Those 4 hours I went into a zone. I was gone, and I do miss that because I loved game day. But a lot of the stuff before, a lot of stuff afterwards. No, I'm okay. I did it enough.
The book is called The 100-Yard Journey, and tonight you're going to be at Left Bank Books. And, Coach Pinkel, it is clear that history happened while you were playing football, and you had a front row seat for a lot of history, starting with going to school at Kent State right after the shootings. So that prepared you for what came further on down the line. But tell us about what it was like to go to Kent State at that time.
Well, when I went there, I just signed with Kent State, and we were the first ones on campus that happened May 4th, 1970. I just graduated, at the end of that May, and then so we were the first ones on campus afterwards. But it was incredible because at the end of the day, we ended up, Nick Saban was on my team, Alabama's coach, Jack Lambert, who's a Hall of Fame, and Don James comes in there right after that too. He got rid of the coach that was there. They put in at the time, and they bring a guy named Don James in there. And I remember him being introduced, and Jack Lambert's sitting there. He's 18. I'm 18. Nick Saban's 18, and they introduced a guy named Don James, and we won the first championship in the history of the school. And that kind of was the start for really all three of us, in our relationship with Coach James and the influence that had on us in the future. How
did the shooting and the Vietnam War and the controversy on campus, how did you deal with it? How did that affect the football team?
Well, it was interesting because, it had to be a lot of healing at that time. There was a lot of, obviously 4 students were shot or 4 people were shot and killed. There was on the anniversary of that next May 4, 71, there were National Guard on campus and everything else. There were no disturbances, but there was, a few problems. But for that matter, it was kind of a Kent State students stay united together. And so there was this big thing going on campus. And one of the great things about that, too, is we won that championship, 2 years later. And it really, really helped bring the university back together. And it was really cool to see that we were all part of the Kent State team, and we've been all through a lot, and it was neat to see sport have such an influence. It's similar to 9/11 when sport started coming on after that, and people could go and kind of get away with some of the reality things at that time.
Yeah, you you have your playing days over with. You become coach at Kent State, and then you go on to Toledo, and then you come here to Missouri, and you're minding your own business, and a player named Michael Sam comes in and says, "Oh, by the way, I'm gay," and so you have to deal with that. But one of the things I think it doesn't get enough attention was that secret stayed within the entire team, which is remarkable as a coach and a program and teammates, that they all respected him and kept that secret and allowed him to tell it when he wanted to.
Yeah, it was really amazing because I remember when this all happened, cut it really short, we found that out in August that he came out in front of our team and everything else. And And then I asked him about it, and he says, "Coach, I don't want to do anything right now. I don't want to have, I don't want to be a distraction to the team." So this happened, after we won our bowl game, Cotton Bowl game, and everything. And he ended up being Defensive Player of the Year in the SEC. And but then he did come out right before the draft, and it was interesting. And I was on Mike and Mike in the morning. I was in Good Morning America morning. People said exactly that same thing. How in the world did you keep that a secret? How is it possible this day and age, with cell phones, Twitter, all the different things that you have, all the things you do? And that was our team, though. We had a really special group of guys, and we ended up fourth in the nation or fifth in the nation, and it was that kind of told the story of the remarkable team and the remarkable teammates and how close that team was.
Do you think his being gay had anything to do with him not landing a job in the NFL?
I don't know. That would be purely speculation. I think he was the Rams drafted him, as I recall. He was with the Cowboys for a while, and they released him. So I think that I would like to think no, I don't think it did, because I think that's how I feel. But I've not really talked to him about that, but I think that he was certainly get some opportunities, and that would be pure speculation on my part.
Yeah, the knock, or I don't want to say the knock, but he was undersized as a defensive lineman. So those who were looking him just in terms of talent, if he would have made it, he would have been an undersized lineman in the NFL.
Yeah, and he was a guy that had to really work hard. He was what we call Mizzou made. We had guys like that hardly everybody recruited him. And he comes to our place into our player development program. We thought he was a really good athlete. He was undersized. With our player development program, we got him stronger, faster, quicker. And he ends up getting drafted and being defensive player in the year in the SEC. So he was a stretch a little bit to make it. I mean, he was a late draft pick. And that's why I never heard from him or any of his teammates that I talked to that he felt that he was that he was discriminated against in regards to that. However, but I've never talked to him directly about that.
The book is called The 100-Yard Journey. Gary Pinkel is our guest, and he is going to be at Left Bank Books tonight for a book signing and a book reading. I want to jump ahead to the protests on the campus, your last year. Because they're still dealing with that today, and the country is still dealing with that today. Again, history comes barging through your doors and into your locker room when players come to you and say, "Coach, what do they say, and what goes through your mind as the outside influences of society come right into your locker room?"
Well, you deal with those things all the time. I always have. I mean, this just became a bigger story. What I did, as I explained in the book, is there's a procedure I always follow. Gary Pinkel doesn't make decisions and make when something's of a serious note and it's going to be a serious situation, which this was going to be, we knew that. I go through the procedure. I call my athletic director. My athletic director calls the chancellor president, and it goes through the hierarchy of and then we make a decision how we're going to make it and what we're going to do. And when I got a hold of our athletic director, Mac Rhodes, and Mac said right away, we got to support these kids, and I agreed with him. And that's really what that's actually what happened. Gary Pinkel just didn't wake up and say, "I'm going to do this. This is what we're going to do." But our kids wanted to save a guy's life. That's what it was about. It was not about agenda. They talk about that in the book. It wasn't. There was a Twitter that came out that was the person made a mistake. That's the facts and the reality of it, which got a lot of people upset. But it wasn't about agenda at all. It was about this guy eating, and they're trying to save this kid's life. And so, that's the way it went down. And I think our university is recovering from it, and I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, it's interesting how many times. Right, you're dealing with this with the Colin Kaepernick and the kneeling of the national anthem and Kent State, and it's amazing how many times in your professional career as a coach that the outside influences and, really national stories have walked right into your locker room.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? I've had a few, and it was a guy who was passed away in our program, and so I had several things. But people sit there and say, "Well, gosh, coach, you had a district. You won 5 champions. You went to 9 bowls in the last 11 years, 5 divisional championships, 6 bowl championships. Boy, it's really sad that happened to you." And part of the book is, life throws things at you. You know what? You don't pick and choose what you want, what you don't want. You got to deal with them, and it's adversity. You deal with it, you learn from it, and it makes you a better person, and you move on. So that's kind of part of what I talk about in the book quite a bit.
Yeah. Let's talk Barry Odom for a second. And I think I heard this on one of the broadcasts, that he did a study of top 5 conferences, as you guys like to call it. And 70% or 80% of the players who walk onto a college campus finish their college career without the coach that recruited him. That's amazing that the athletic department and the fans don't have enough patience for the program to turn around. Early in your career, there were people calling for your head, and I honestly was like, give the guy a chance. You can't turn this thing around in 10 minutes. Is it gotten worse now than when you first started?
Well, yeah, I think it's very true what Barry said. I think it's gotten worse. There's no question about that. The difference is for me, though, is I inherited a program that had 2 winning seasons in 17 years. And he had inherited a program that in 9 of the last 11 years won championships and, nationally ranked 6 times and so on. But you're still building your program and you're putting things in, and Barry's doing real good now, and I'm excited to see about the team. But there's so much money in the business now. There's so much money. People don't want to hear about your problems. They don't want to hear it. Well, we had a guy injured, and we're going to overcome this. We're going to be a great team next year. They don't want to hear about it. They just don't. And
but a guarantee to go to the bottom is to change coaches every 3 years.
Yeah, I know, and that you're exactly right. And that's when I got here. That's what they did. They just kept firing coaches. Just bring another one in, bring another one in, bring another one in. And I was one of them. And I remember when I took the job, everybody told me I was nuts. I remember next day they called me up and said, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" But I believe in Mike Alden. Mike Alden. He's going to stand by me when it was tough. And I told him it's going to take 4 years just to get going here. And he knew that though. And I was right on it. It took us 4 years because it was just 2 winning seasons, 17 years.
Right.
We had to change the culture.
Right.
And with social networking, with the media, with all the coverage, the way things are like they've never been before. Everybody's got a zillion opinions, which that's why they love the sport. But at the end of the day, the patience, for coaches is at a minimal, and it's not going to change.
Yeah. All right. Tonight at Left Bank Books, 7 o'clock for a book signing and a book reading. Gary Pinkel's new book, The 100-Yard Journey. Last question for you, Coach Pinkel. Do you know, the sports guys were telling me this, that there's something called getting pinkled. Do you know what that means?
No, I'm scared to ask.
All right. So when you're on an interview with Gary Pinkel, as soon as you say goodbye, you hang up so fast that there's a dial tone at the end of it. So
no, there isn't.
Yeah, that's what they say. When they say getting pinkled, they said, "Hey, let's see if when you have him on the phone, if he pinkles you." And I said, "What does that mean?" They said, "When you say goodbye, he hangs up so fast that you have a hard time saying goodbye." So
the only reason I hang up so fast is I got something else to do real quick. That's the only reason. But I would never be rude to anybody like that ever. But if that happens, I'd never heard about pinkles before, so I wouldn't want to get pinkled, so I'll make sure I never do that again.
Coach Pinkel, we will let you get to your business. Have a good day. Thanks for checking in.
Okay, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
You got it.